I want Kenyans to understand that Kenya has been chosen as a pilot country in the implementation of what we call the New World Order. The New World Order agenda is an agenda that entails what we call a one world government. And this is not an agenda that was started yesterday. It is an agenda that has been put on set from the year 1946 after the Second World War. Immediately after the Second World War, on the 13th of February in 1946, the UN formulated what we call the UN Charter with one goal. And the entire goal was to break down sovereignties of all countries and build what we call a one world government. During that time, let me just take you through so you understand, and I'll reach the ID so that we understand where we're going as a country, because we seem to look at things at the face value, but without us understanding the root cause of our problems, I don't think we'll find a fundamental solution. So from the 1940s and 50s, this agenda was spearheaded by a group of billionaires called the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group are the richest families in the world. Name them the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, the House of Lorraine, the Habsburgs, all of them. And towards 1970s, they formulated and rebranded into a group known as the World Economic Forum. That was in 1971. The World Economic Forum is a forum that is spearheaded by a German economist called Klaus Schwab. And this is the mother organization that is spearheading this New World Order agenda. And remember, this is the same organization that the group has taken full control of this country we call Kenya. You know, we have to speak as it is for us to understand where we are going, where we are, and where our problems began. The World Economic Forum works in subsidiary with the other Bretton Woods institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank. Together with them, spearheading the health agenda is the WHO and the United Nations. So these people had an agenda from the 1940s to build a world with a one government. When I talk of a one government, I'm talking of one military, one president, one currency, one system, judicial system, military system, to build one, where the center of command will be under one leadership. So in this Africa we're talking about, I don't know how we got to this point where now Kenya has become the prototype for all these implementations. All these shenanigans and things you are seeing, all these policies and implementations that are being brought forward ever since the KK government got into office are all spearheaded and pushed to us by these globalist organizations. Number one, their biggest agenda is to depopulate the whole world. They are very clear in their agenda, and they say for the implementation of the New World Order, the first thing they have to do is to reduce the number of people on Earth from a number of about 8 billion to a maximum of 500 million to 1 billion people. And how do you do that? So their first implementations was things to do with food and agriculture. And that is why you'll notice most of the implementations and policies that are being implemented in this country from Uhuru Kenyatta's time were policies to do with health, food and agriculture, and land. Simply because they understood the only way to control mankind is to control the food. As it is said, he who feeds you controls you. So how are they able to manage, how are they able to control our food supply and our food agricultural practices? It is through policies in these governments that are puppets to these globalist organizations. Today in this country, we know very well that the entire assembly has been held captive by the executive. But at the same time, we have to understand that our entire leadership has also been held captive by these globalists. All these agricultural policies that are being implemented in Kenya are meant to take full control of our food production, food supply, and our entire agricultural practices. In the New World Order agenda, they state clearly that their main objective is to transfer food production and agricultural practices together with assets and land from individuals to the big corporations. The New World Order agenda entails to take control of the entire ownership of properties, assets, and everything else on planet Earth. But the saddest thing is that we are being pushed towards an agenda that many Kenyans are not aware of, many Kenyans are not speaking about. Even our entire leadership, most of them don't know where these globalists are taking us
Correct.
to. So once they control the
Yes.
food, today you know very well that agriculture is under their control, and they managed to do it through policies. And this policy started during Uhuru Kenyatta's time, where they brought policies to do with seeds, where you cannot share seeds, and they allowed these multinational globalist organizations such as DuPont, Cargill, Monsanto, they allowed them to come and patent seeds here. Today in this country, it is a crime to even share seeds with your neighbor. Today in this country, it's a crime to use seeds that are not patented. And remember, most of these GMO seeds that were being implemented to plant and to consume are what we call terminator seeds. In the essence that once you use that seed, you cannot replant it in the next season. So what does that mean? It means if you need to plant in your next season, you must go back to them and they'll sell it to you at your price, and they can decide whether to sell it to you or not. So actually, Eric, their main objective is to take full control and transfer agricultural land and practices from individuals to these globalist organizations. And that is why I'm glad you understand the issue of this new affordable housing agenda. It's an agenda that no Kenyan can really explain, because this agenda is not a Kenyan agenda. I'll tell you with confidence that even the plans and the drawings for these projects of the new housing agenda were done by the IMF and these globalist organizations. And their main objective is, most of it is coming under the social panel, but their main objective is to compensate those people who are going to lose their land in the rural and urban areas. Many at times, and Kenyans, this is a time where we have to be listening to what our leaders say. Because if you want to know where leaders are taking you, stay keen and understand the words they are pronouncing time and again. Many a times the president has pronounced that it is time as Kenyans. We have to free up land from rural areas and move to urban areas. And that is why these housing projects are done only within the towns. If really they were supposed to empower or bring up the poor people and embrace the mamamboga and boda boda, as it is said, these are projects that will even be done in rural areas where people have cheap or poor settlements. But the main objective is to take over the land and put people under a project in the New World Order known as the 15-minute cities. The 15-minute cities appear very pretty in the pronouncement, and they say it is a group of leaders all over the countries that are coming together to combat what we call climate change. But the reality is, this is the projection of the future of the world, where they want to put people in a sort of a concentration camp, and people will only be living within these small cities. That's why they name them the 15-minute cities. And the entire land and property will be transferred to these globalist organizations. Eric, if you do your research today in America, actually 44% of single family homes have already been taken over by these globalist organizations. Big companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, StreetGuard, all owned by these cabals I'm talking about. Now, the moment you take these people into these concentration camps, you need to find a way to control them. And that is where they're coming up with the agenda of what you call the digital ID. Let me tell you, Eric, printing an ID ever since we were born in this country, issuance and printing of IDs is one of the easiest jobs a government can do. But you'll agree with me, for the last 2-3 years, this activity has hit a snag, and it has been intentional, simply because they are gearing towards the launching of what we call the digital world ID. The president himself pronounced and said that very soon we will launch digital IDs, and these digital IDs will be free. Now, these digital IDs, their main objective is for total control of mankind. And the worst of it all, the digital IDs come handy because of the introduction of the new world currency, which are called the central bank digital currencies.